The Ringer came out with their new and latest mock draft that has Khaman Maluach falling to the Chicago Bulls at number 12. The question that we have for you guys today is, can the Chicago Bulls afford to pass up on him if he's there at number 12? We're going to talk about it all and more in today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. That's Pat, the designer, host, and creator of the Windy City Breeze and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host, creator of Chicago Bulls Central and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. We've got a lot to get into today. Khaman Maluach could potentially fall into the Bulls. Can the Bulls afford to be passive during a period of high activity across the NBA expected, according to Brian Windhorst? And then lastly, who would Pat trade if he has to trade anybody on this team to try to make a move this offseason? We'll talk about all that today. Let's get into the first topic. Pat, first, before that, why didn't you name the podcast The Bears Podcast instead of the Chicago Bears Podcast?
I didn't name the podcast.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Of the years you've been doing the show, they literally just came to him like, it's The Bears. Anyway.
I didn't name the podcast.
So the Ringer came out with their latest mock draft. It has the Bulls taking Khaman at number 12. Then NBA Draft.net also has Khaman going to number 13. And it seems like a prospect that once was projected to go probably in the top 5 to 6 is now potentially falling down into the double digits. We've heard this story before, Pat. That's kind of how we got Matas Buzelis. Can the Bulls afford to pass up on Khaman if he falls there to number 12 for the Bulls?
I think if he falls there, listen, y'all know how I feel about Cedric Coward, but if he falls there, I wouldn't be mad if you end up taking Khaman Malik. I think we've officially reached the point in the offseason where it's like, all right, let's write a story that shakes things up. Mm-hmm. Why all of a sudden is he dropping drastically to the 12 to I've seen him in the 15 range where Oklahoma City basically takes him. Bro, I have seen this mother falling. Like, and here's the thing. I don't believe it. That's really what it comes down to. You know what I mean? I think that you've got these, you get to a point in the offseason where you need to write about something that is different. And I think Khaman is the easiest name to move around that is going to get clicks, but also is not an end of the world surprise if he falls there. And I think the reason being because there is a lot of potential that has to be reached for Khaman to be the player that you hope that he is. You don't just come in and go, oh, this guy's going to hit the ground running. So to me, I look at this as if he is there and the Bulls take him, I would expect it to be a tough. You don't want to draft that guy with all the potential that he does have. A tough decision to make, I guess, is what I'm trying to say there. But I don't see a world where this dude's outside Toronto. He's a Toronto Raptor if he falls anywhere near Toronto in my mind.
I don't know. Carter Bryant also feels like a Toronto Raptor pick, but no, I get you on that. I think so this is the part of the draft process where a lot of the questions around players gets maximized. And I think as we continue to go on, they may quiet down some for some players. They can grow for some players. Now, I do think there's a chance that Khaman falls. And I think maybe it's because people have realized his floor is a lot lower than what people initially thought. Initially, it was like, well, at the bare minimum, he's going to be one of the best defensive big men in the league. And then now you start looking at it, you're like, that lateral quickness is. And while he, even in the combine, I think they were more impressed with his shooting numbers. There's a lot of question around exactly who Khaman is going to be. And we've seen players like Khaman before that get drafted that look like they have all this potential in the world that end up not turning into much. Hello, Hashim Thabit. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying I don't think he's going to be that bad, but I'm just saying it's happened before.
What a pull. I ain't heard Hashim Thabit in probably 15 years. My God.
I'm just saying, bro. There's that thought. Now, if he's there, and here's more so than anything, if these mocks are to be believed, there's a chance that we're talking about Thomas Sorber, Derek Queen, Asa Newell, and Khaman. 2 to 3 of those players being on the board when the Bulls pick at number 12.
Yeah.
Now, we know that the Bulls have said they're not focused on any one position. I get all that. I hear all that. But to me, you also focus on moving Nikola Vucevic unless you're just looking at Zach Collins and Dang, why am I forgetting old boy's name? Jalen Smith.
Jalen, you talk about Sticks.
Yeah, Sticks as your guys. I don't know if I believe all that. So I think the Bulls have a really good chance if they want to get a center to get one here, and that's the most important thing. But come on, I mean, he's interesting because if he works out, he has the chance to be really, really good. Yeah. And I went and looked at some more advanced stuff for him, and like one of the reasons his rebounding numbers and his blocks aren't as high is because they actually had him guarding outside the paint and on the perimeter a lot last season. So maybe there's that side of it that you look at, but I won't lie, there's some big concerns about Khaman as well.
The rebounding is the biggest concern. Like I get it, like he maybe he wasn't in position for every rebound, but could you be in position for some of them? Like in important games, Khaman is coming away with 5 boards where they needed rebounds. Like I think that's the thing. And nobody else rebounded on the team but Cooper Flag. It was just Khaman and Cooper Flag. Y'all the only two really going out there and getting boards. And Cooper Flag out rebounded you. Like that is a concern that it is incredibly difficult to overlook. Where you listen, I get it, 7'2". You like the
no, it was Sion James, Khan. They rebounded pretty well positionally too. They had a really good rebounding team. They had
Khan was what 3 rebounds a game,
4 rebounds a game. But for being a primarily perimeter player, that's actually a lot.
Solid,
yeah, I mean,
that's
solid enough.
But
and Sion James, your point guard having 4.5 rebounds per game, that's solid too. Like they were a solid enough rebounding team.
I mean, they were a solid rebounding team, but I think the fact that your big man who's 7'2" is not coming away with 8+ rebounds in important moments is that to me is always going to be a concern. Like
no, and I agree that there's a concern there. Like I said, they had between them having them guard out on the perimeter a lot, well, outside the paint a lot. And they were a solid rebounding team. There's could be a reason for it, but that doesn't mean that there's not still reason for concern too. So,
and I think the thing too is right, especially in those moments where I think back to that who they play in the semis. Why am I blanking? Houston. I think back to that Houston game. That's the game we need you. That's the game I need you to do something. You weren't going to be there offensively. You weren't going to be what?
Where is Khaman and Kuminga? That's because they're both black? Like what? Where are they similar players at? What is happening here? I feel like
he said they both had that. Remember Kuminga a couple years ago, he didn't have a fade. They both had that original African haircut. That's what they're saying.
Hey, bro, the original African haircut is real though, bro. Because there's no shading on the sides, no lining for real, bro. And then they still have enough hair for it to just curl a little bit. It's like, yeah, man, what are we doing here?
That boy Kuminga, I used to be like, somebody get this man. He's in the Bay. Get him a barber. He's cutting it himself, clearly. But no, man, I think my concerns with Khaman are not that he can't be that guy you hope he can turn into, where he is the double machine. He does get the offensive game going a little bit more with more shots. I think the most shots he probably took this season is probably 8 shots a game. He's not shooting on that team.
He's not shooting a lot. He's not shooting a lot.
But the efficiency is through the roof on those shots. But the concern that you have is, can you do that consistently? And the one thing that we haven't seen consistency from is him rebounding the basketball. He's had games where he's had 17 rebounds. I think first Mount St. Mary's, who they played in the first round, I think he came away with 15 rebounds in that game. You know what I mean? Like he's had the big rebounding games. I remember watching the Notre Dame game. I think he had 20 rebounds versus Notre Dame. So he can do it, but it's not consistent. And that's where I start to get nervous on that, because when you start to take chances on consistency coming out of college, that's where it's like, all right, like you kind of got to look at this. And I think we saw the same thing last year with a lot of the pieces that came out of the draft that we talked about could be available for the Bulls. The one thing Matas was consistent in was going to the bucket, and we saw that again this season.
Yeah. I mean, so we shall see. I mean, Khaman is an interesting prospect. Real quick, Pat, before we get out of this segment, if Asa, Derek Queen, Thomas Sorber, Khaman Maluach are all on the board, if the Bulls do say, regardless of what they're saying publicly, internally, we need to walk away with a center, who's your center you're taking in that case?
That's so tough, because I think you need an answer. I'd probably go Sorber. I'd probably go
Sorber
Sorber.
is the safest bet out of all that.
And I know that is such a Garpax move to go with the safe guy, but you need safe right now at the big man position.
AK can take some safe picks that just end up just turning out to be just solid good players. Like
you need safe. Like you need it badly. You've taken chances in every draft. Dalen Terry was a chance. Even
Walker
with
Kessler was right there.
Walker Kessler, Dalen Terry was a chance. Patrick Williams was a chance. Io DeSumo, second round pick, chance, but it worked out for you. That's a chance I'm willing to take. But like all you've done is take chances. Play it safe. You need to come out of this draft with a player. Like it cannot be a question mark on this. Modest didn't give you that much goodwill.
I feel you. I definitely Modest didn't give you. I mean, facts. I feel you on that one. But next up, we're going to continue the conversation. We're talking about, can the Bulls afford to be passive during a time period in the NBA where there's expected to be a lot of movement and they can get involved at least as a third team. We're talking about all that, but first we got to get into a message from Wayfair. There's nothing like stepping into your own outdoor space and feeling like you've escaped to a personal oasis. If you're wanting to update your patio this season, Wayfair has made it so easy to turn it into a space that feels like yours. Comfortable, stylish, and ready for the summer. Wayfair has everything you need to level up your outdoor space: conversation sets, outdoor bars, fire pits, hot tubs, gazebos, and yes, even the perfect string lights to set the vibe. It's like giving your backyard the resort feel without the resort price tag. I recently picked up a new outdoor dining set and some modern lounge chairs, and they completely transformed my patio. Goes perfectly right along with my big old fire pit, by the way. Don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with Wayfair and enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop a huge outdoor selection. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. All right, Pat.
I actually just looked up Khaman's numbers. I hyped him up way more, and I'm
I think that Notre Dame game, I think it was just 10 rebounds, but he had some 15 rebound games in there.
He had a 15 rebound game versus Miami, Florida, which was right after that game.
Mm-hmm.
That man didn't rebound basically at all. This is the tournament. 5-5-6-9-0.
Yeah, that zero's concerning.
21 minutes, 0 rebounds.
Yeah, that's
he's 7'2". A
with
ball should just bounce magically to you.
7'8" wingspan.
A ball should just magically bounce to you.
Ball should magically bounce. All right, Pat. So let's get into.
Even with that, at least he caught one. I don't know.
With that said, Pat, so Brian Windhorst came out yesterday on, I think it was First Take, and he talked a lot about how there's going to be, because free agency, this isn't a great free agency class, so he does expect there to be a lot of movement from the week before the draft to about the week after the draft. That's where most of your moves are going to come in at. There's going to be a lot of trades done at that time. He kind of highlighted the fact that everybody's kind of just waiting on that one big trade to happen first, and then you're going to start seeing the subsequent trades after that point in time. We already kind of have heard that Giannis is probably most likely just staying in Milwaukee. Yeah. And I know this is a question that we kind of talked about over the last couple of episodes, but do you think that the Bulls can really afford to be passive in this, whether they're the third team in a trade, whether they make a move with some of their own roster? Do you think that they can really afford, in this period of time where there's going to be a lot of movements, a lot of picks moved around, a lot of assets taken, needing expiring contracts to make salary work? Can AK afford to sit on his hands during this period?
Do I want him to? No. I think that you just laid out all the reasons why he should. Can he afford to? Sure. Like if we come back to the table with Coby White, Josh Giddey, Io DeSumo, and Matas Buzelis, and Nikola Vucevic is still on the team, like that's kind of what I expected to happen. Like it's not like it's not what I want to happen, but when you talk about AK being AK, that would be very par for the course. And you saw a team in the second half of the season that did a good amount of winning, that I think was much more competitive, that had much more fight, that had a nice rapport with each other. So I think there is a conversation where he can afford to keep all of these pieces. Should he? No. He shouldn't. You shouldn't have re-signed Lonzo Ball for $10 million. There you go.
Every episode, either
every
that or
episode.
Javon Carter slander. It's funny when Nick is our boss, technically, is texting us about, hey, it's always Javon. Why is it Javon? Cocaine. But anyway,
bro, I died when he said all caps, little cocaine in the system. It's like, you can say that, right? They get away with that. But no, I mean, like, do I want the Bulls to be a passive team here? But no, because I think there's opportunity for you. I think that if we're being honest, right, I love the growth that Coby has shown, but Coby is very replaceable. And if you can tell me I can get a first-round pick out of it, especially coming into this draft, although Wendy's talking, this is probably all post-draft stuff here. But I think even, right, and we'll probably talk about it more in depth tomorrow, but like even the Coby White trade, that or the what the Orlando Magic are looking for an impactful rotational player and how Coby White could fit into that. Like, I think even with that, the value that you could get back from a team and in saving cap space and player assets and in draft capital, like those are things that is very tough to pass up on if you're going to move on from somebody. So we'll see what the Bulls end up doing. But I think honestly, could he survive? Yes. Should he do it? No.
yeah, I mean, yeah, he definitely should. I mean, could he? Like we all know, like anything's possible here as long as you don't lose Jerry Reinsdorf money. There's anything's possible for you to keep your job, right? Like,
yeah, but you can lose Jerry Reinsdorf money and keep your job. I mean, the people just start going to White Sox games again.
This is true. So we'll see what happens there. I hope that AK, while you're preaching patience, I hope that doesn't just mean not just foregoing things that can make your team better. And this is a period in time where you can make your team better without necessarily even, like, I know you mentioned trading Coby, but we're talking about like you can make your team better in the future, at least set your team up without even giving up any of your core pieces in the trade like this. You have $61 million in expiring contract. There's going to be billions of money moved around, hundreds of millions of money moved around as far as in contracts over the billions is crazy. That's why I had it crazy. Billions is crazy. Hundreds of millions of contracts. The
whole league got traded.
It's going to be moved around. So like this is your opportunity to really take advantage of it. And like there are going to be teams that don't want a piece, and then because they don't want that, you're set up to take. You have a trade exception. You have all of this, and like I've just seen too many potential assets for the Bulls over the years go unused where they just expire because this front office, like whether it is that they've been too close to we had a $15 million trade exception a couple years ago. We let it expire because we were too close to the luxury tax. You have a $17 million trade exception that you can use all of it and not sniff the luxury tax. This is the time period where you need to use that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's so many situations right now where this is going to come down to, I think this is the offseason that will decide, okay, did AK literally just have a couple of stumble years where, Lonzo Ball got banged up and you were trying to rebuild the team, but you were really waiting for Lonzo to come back and it didn't work out for you? Or is he a bad GM? Is he a bad president of basketball operations? Yeah. Like, if you don't do anything this year, you're bad. You're not good at your job. Like, there's so many opportunities to do. Like, and I'm not even, I don't think there's a move the Bulls could make short of like just getting rid of Coby for basically cash considerations, which isn't even possible.
Yeah, I don't know.
A bad move.
It's only a $12 million contract. It's possible.
Actually, it is possible.
It is possible.
Being honest, yeah. There's not really a move you can make that's a bad move.
Yeah.
Like what's the trade that the Bulls could make with the players that brings you back less?
Well, and it depends on your view, because I tell you right now, if the Bulls do make that trade for Coby, which we'll go into more detail on the rumored trade, I can already see people, Cole Anthony and Jonathan Isaac. Yeah,
but you got to know what you traded them for. You basically got them to be like, we're getting rid of y'all.
Yeah, because Cole Anthony is team option the season after this one, so you could literally a 1-year deal. But then are the picks enough for that case? But so I mean, we'll see what AK does. I just hope that. I'm not calling
trainers make Jonathan Isaac healthy. No.
Well, I mean, he played 71 games, I think, last year, but they only played him like 16 minutes. Like,
I was gonna say he didn't play no time.
He's about to be on that Lonzo plan.
I miss, bro. He was supposed to be Wemby. Must forget that.
He was supposed or at least Tatum or Jaylen Brown, like he was supposed to be like that level of player, bro. And it's like don't get me wrong, he still turned himself into one of the best on-ball defenders in the NBA. And shout out to him for salvaging that. But like he was supposed to have that offensive bag, and yeah, that's just
he kind of did. He just every time he would show it, his leg would fall off.
He's walking around here with the detachable leg. So, yeah. Go ahead.
That noise throw you out there.
A little bit.
Hey man, we appreciate y'all.
That was a choice. That was definitely a choice.
The double down was a choice.
Yeah, the double down was a choice. The double down was crazy.
The first one, nature took over. The second one, that was a choice. Hey man, we appreciate y'all for tuning in to this show and love. We got to keep the conversation going. Talking about who would we actually want to see traded, or who does it make sense to trade? I don't think there's anybody we want to see. You can trade Lonzo Ball. We'll talk about that coming up next. But first, we got to tell you guys all about our sponsors over at Game Time. Nothing like the NBA playoffs, the intensity, the buzzer beaters, especially with Tyrese Halliburton out there, the fans losing their minds. It's that kind of atmosphere that you must experience live, and this year's matchups are already delivering. I had somebody offer me 5 tickets to this Indiana game tonight. They wanted way too much money. And so I took my talents over to Game Time, because Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app actually drop off closer to tip off, and with killer last minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Game Time is a total game changer. I was just looking on the app, and when you look at those finals prices right now, the prices are insane. But with zone deals, they were offering 60% off in some great sections. I love that I can see my exact view before I buy. No surprises. The app makes it ridiculously simple. 2 taps and I am done. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. You said what? I thought he said what? Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download this episode. This episode's off the rails. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem the code LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Download Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. More Locked On Bulls coming up next.
I honestly forgot my mic was still on. I didn't mean for that to be heard. You said 2 taps and you're done. I said, that's what she said. My fault, y'all. I just thought my mic was muted.
The fact that in your own personal time, you just that's what she said. That's the best part.
Probably about 4 or 5 times a day, bro. Absolutely.
Oh,
I'm old. Okay, Pat, last time before we get up out of here today, with all the talk of movement and things like that, who are some players that you would look to move, that you want to see traded, or not want to, but that you would move and look to be shopping around as part of either a 3-team trade or to make a deal more focused around the Bulls getting something back?
Listen, I think I've probably continued to say it. I think what Coby White does is very replaceable, and I think you're getting him at the best value you're going to have him at. You are not going to have this value anytime soon. I would try and see if you could get something done there. I think that's the thing. That's the piece that brings you back the most and allows you to do the most with the future. It's also the piece you're going to have to pay the most. And it's not because I don't think Coby White's a talented player. I do think Coby White's a talented player. I do think there's a limit where that talent is at, and I don't know if everyone else on the team can raise that limit for where Coby White is at. Now, I would love to see him, continue and prove me wrong here in Chicago, but I don't know if you're going to get a season where you're coming off of Coby White being player of the month, where you're coming off of Coby White hitting an absolute fire streak in the second half of the season. We haven't seen that in Kobe's career. Kobe usually gets hot first half of the season, has some sporadic performances in the second half, and it's kind of inconsistent, goes into a play-in tournament, has a hot game, and then kind of falls off. Like you aren't going to have a better opportunity than now to move on from a guy like Kobe. And it's not because Kobe's a bad player. In fact, it's because he's pretty good, but you're just not at the point where you're going to get the best out of them, or get the most out of them, I guess is the right way to say it.
So you would be actively shopping Kobe then?
Yeah, I think so. To me, I think that, teams are going to want him. He's an asset that can add a lot to a lot of teams. I think the Orlando Magic has been a very loud conversation here. And what I think it does is if you get this deal done quick enough, we talked about it, during the season, I would see what you can get done with Tre Jones. Keeping Tre Jones on this roster, like, I get it. We signed Lonzo for $10 million, but is Lonzo going to be playing? I know Tre Jones more than likely will.
Yeah, I mean, Tre Jones will more than likely play. That's why I do like to hear that the Bulls, and, we'll talk about this a little bit on tomorrow's episode too, that they are kind of more so aggressively shopping Lonzo Ball, and there's a market developing for him. Even the Lakers could be in on a potential Lonzo Ball trade. But weird. Yeah, I know, right? Like, it is what it is. Lakers are a weird franchise, but so I do think, like, if you can get that done, if you can find a way to move off something on this roster to keep Tre Jones, I would be all in. I'm not necessarily, I'm not where you are at with Kobe, but I do think if you can move Zoe, if you can move Javon Carter, if you can move one of those guys to keep Tre Jones on this roster, I think that Tre showed you enough, and his chemistry with Kobe and with Josh Giddey, regardless of how you look at that, was legitimate. And I think that is worth making a move to try to increase your chances to keep Tre. Now, outside of that, I still look at this and I say, I think Kevin Huerter is a player that teams would very well be interested in. I think his shooting ability, if you need some shooting, I do think that that's a player that you could get something back for, at least include in a deal. That's somebody I'm looking for. But of course, outside of those guys, I would love to be able to move the BHH off the team, but in Javon Carter. But I don't know if you're going to be able to do that. So I think you're going to have to move something like that. I've seen like some moves for Jalen. Unless you're getting a center, I don't understand that either. But I guess we shall see what happens with the Bulls, man.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that right now, if you can move on from Lonzo, if you can move on from Javon Carter, if you could find a team that's willing to take those pieces off your hands and you can hold on to Coby White, that is the better situation for you. You'd rather not see Coby White walk away, but with the money you're about to probably give to Josh Giddey, which we're still waiting on that to come down the pipeline, with the money that you're going to have to give to Ayo Dosunmu eventually, who I think the Bulls absolutely want to be a part of this team, are you also going to give that money to Coby White, who's shown you a ton more? He's shown you he can be a player of the month. Like, there's a lot of money, and that's not a bad thing, right? You pay for good players, and so I'm fine paying Coby White, but if you pay Coby White, your core is Matas, Giddey, Ayo, Kobe. What's that core doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair question. We shall see. We shall see what happens here. I think that what the Bulls are able to do in the draft is going to matter a lot, but do not be surprised if after the Bulls pick in the draft, I'm not saying they'll get back into, I would love for them to get back into the first round, but there's going to be a lot of trades after that point. Like, I think after pick 10, you're going to see a lot of those picks moved around, and hopefully the Bulls can get involved in some of that, find a way to either gain assets or a player or something on this team for sure.
They got to do something because they ain't did nothing yet. We'll see what ends up happening, though. I don't have nothing else to add. Haize, appreciate y'all for tuning in, showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer.
You guys can follow me at CEO Haize. Locked On Bulls is free and available in every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Odyssey app, Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, Fubo TV, basically anywhere you want us. You always can get it.
You always call it
see you guys on
TV, and that's incredibly black.
It's all right. They understand. They'll find it. Peace, y'all.
Fubo TV is
Fubo, whatever.
Hey, what's on Fubo TV, bro?
A lot of what's his name? The dude from Shark Tank.
Damon John?
Yeah.
He's just Damon, right? John making deal.
Yeah.